You're spending about $9 every single year just to keep your car on the road, and most people don't. Do you realize how bad that number really is until they slow down and look at where the money is going? Gas hovering around 4.5 a gallon. Insurance premiums quietly climbing, up nearly 30% in just 2 years. A surprise $400 mechanic bill last month that you did budget for and could avoid. And while all of that is happening, the car itself is bleeding value. That 2008 Honda Accord you paid already $8,000 for is now worth around $12. Half your money is gone, and you are still paying every month just to keep it alive. It's the kind of slow financial leak that does feel dramatic day to day, but over time it adds up to tens of thousands of dollars disappearing from your retirement plans, your savings, or your peace of mind. Elon Musk said something in early 2025 that didn't to get nearly as much attention as it should have. He said it's not just a revolution in vehicle design, but a revolution in vehicle manufacturing. That statement was meant for car enthusiasts or tech bloggers. It was meant for people who are tired of paying for complexity they never asked for. Because when you look closely, the biggest cost of car ownership is the sticker price. Everything that comes after. That's where the rumored Tesla Model 2 comes in, with a projected price around $749 and strong indicator pointing to August 2026. Deliveries based on leaked production planning tied to Giga Texas. If those numbers hold, this car could cost as much as $30,000 less to own over 10 years compared to a Civic or Accord sitting in most driveways today. No oil changes, no transmission rebuilds, no exhaust systems. Over 360 miles per charge in real-world driving. But to reach that price point, Tesla made 7 critical engineering compromises. And here is the part most people miss. 3 of those compromises could cost you thousands in repair bills if you buy this car without understanding the trade-offs. That is what really matters, not the headline price, not the hype. The real cost, what you pay up front, what you save over time, and what you quietly give up in exchange for affordability. There is a reason older buyers don't trust affordable cars anymore. The auto industry has trained people over 50 to be skeptical, and honestly, for good reason. Cheap to buy almost always means expensive to own. You've seen it play out again and again. A car advertised with low monthly payments, only for the insurance quote to come back higher than the sedan you already own. A minor fender bender turns into a major bill because the body shop needs specialized tools, proprietary panels, or recalibration procedures. Suddenly, the word affordable starts to feel like a trick. Most people over 50 aren't anti-technology, they are anti-surprise, especially the kind of surprises that drain accounts you spent decades building. The average American over 55 spends roughly $900 every year on car ownership over a decade. That is $94 just to keep a depreciating asset running. And depreciation alone is brutal. A car bought for $8,000 losing half its value in 6 years in an exception. It is normal. That is the system working exactly as designed. That is why Tesla did start by asking how cheap they could make this car. They started by asking how to stop it from quietly bleeding customers dry after the sale. The Model 2 is really a name. It is a strategy. Tesla hasn't officially branded it yet, and that intentional. Internally, the designation still exists, but Tesla is rushing this vehicle out the door. They are waiting for 2 things to happen: production stability and predictable post-purchase costs. If Tesla wanted headlines, they could have announced this car 2 years ago with flashing lights and a dramatic stage reveal. They did That tells you something. This car is engineered for applause. It engineered for the decade after you buy it. When you look at how this vehicle is actually built, that philosophy becomes obvious. This isn't a car designed to impress you during a 5-minute test drive. It doesn't chase 0 to 60 times under 3 seconds. It doesn't have a massive rotating touchscreen or dramatic lighting effects. It doesn't try to look futuristic for the sake of it. None of that helps when you're 58 years old and staring at a dashboard warning light for the third time this year, wondering how much it's going to cost you. What the model do, especially the senior focus configuration, is designed to optimize is predictability. Fewer parts that can fail. Fewer systems that need maintenance. Costs you can actually plan for. The body structure uses Tesla's megacasting approach, where a large aluminum section form the front and rear of the vehicle instead of hundreds of welded pieces. Fewer welds mean fewer weak points, fewer opportunities for corrosion, less structural fatigue over time. It also means faster manufacturing and fewer variations between vehicles, which matters when you are trying to control long-term reliability. The crash structure is modular. Bolt-on crash modules are designed to absorb impact and then be replaced without pulling or straightening the entire frame. That's a big deal. In traditional cars, even a moderate collision can bend enough structural components that insurers declare the car a total loss. Tesla's approach aims to shift that line, turning what would normally be a write-off into a repairable event. That difference alone can save owners thousands and prevent premature depreciation. Underneath, the design continues to favor simplicity. Electric drivetrains already eliminate many of the most failure-prone components in gas vehicles. No multi-speed transmission, no fuel system, no oil circulation network. But Tesla goes further by reducing part count across the entire vehicle. Fewer sensors, fewer motors for non-essential features. Mechanical simplicity isn't exciting, but it is incredibly valuable when you're trying to keep ownership costs low over 10 or 15 years. That's where the compromises come in. To hit this price, Tesla didn't just remove luxury. They made intentional trade-offs. Materials in certain interior areas are more durable than they are soft. Panels are designed for easy removal rather than aesthetic perfection. Some components are standardized across multiple Tesla models to reduce supply chain complexity. That lowers costs, but it also means repairs need to follow Tesla's ecosystem rather than generic aftermarket solutions, at least in the early years. Battery chemistry is another compromise. Instead of chasing maximum energy density at any cost, Tesla is prioritizing longevity and stability. That means the battery may not be the lightest or the flashiest, but it's designed to last hundreds of thousands of miles with minimal degradation. For an older buyer, that matters more than shaving a few tenths off acceleration times. A battery that holds up over a decade protects resale value and reduces the risk of a catastrophic expense later in life. The interior technology is deliberately restrained. The interface is simplified. Controls are larger, clearer, and designed to reduce cognitive load rather than show off. This isn't about dumbing things down. It's about respecting the reality that distraction and confusion are costs too. Stress has a price. Mistakes have a price. Tesla is quietly acknowledging that usability is part of affordability. Over 10 years, the savings add up in ways most people don't calculate. No oil changes means thousands saved right there. No transmission repairs removes one of the most expensive failure points in modern cars. Regenerative braking dramatically reduces brake wear. Electricity costs, even with rising rates, are more predictable than gas. Insurance, while initially higher for some EVs, is expected to normalize as repairability improves and data from modular repairs becomes widespread. But this car isn't perfect, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. Some repairs will be more expensive if you're outside Tesla's service network. Body panels, while modular, are still aluminum and require proper handling. Software-driven systems mean updates and diagnostics are part of ownership. If you're someone who wants to tinker in your own garage, this isn't that kind of car. The trade-off for predictability is dependence on a controlled ecosystem. That's why understanding the compromises matters. This isn't a car for people who want the cheapest thing today regardless of tomorrow. It's for people who are tired of being surprised by tomorrow. It's for buyers who care less about how a car looks in a showroom and more about how it behaves over a decade of real life. Tesla didn't build this car to win a spec sheet war. They built it to challenge the assumption that affordable transportation has to be fragile, complex, or financially punishing over time. The real revolution isn't the price tag. It's the shift from selling cars as disposable products to engineering them as long-term assets. If Tesla succeeds, the Model 2 won't just change what people drive. It will change what they expect from car ownership itself. That shift in expectations is where the story really continues, because once you understand why this car exists and how it's built, you start seeing the second layer of Tesla's strategy. This vehicle isn't just about lowering monthly payments. It's about reshaping the entire ownership curve so it stops punishing people who keep their cars longer. For decades, the industry quietly relied on churn. Sell a car, let depreciation do its damage, then sell another one before the repair bills peak. That model works fine if you're leasing every 3 years or trading in while the warranty is still intact. It works terribly if you're over 50, living on a fixed or semi-fixed income, and planning to keep a vehicle until it truly no longer makes sense. Tesla knows that older buyers don't replace cars because they are bored. They replace cars because something breaks badly enough to force the decision. Engines fail. Transmissions slip. Electronics become a tangled mess of warning lights that no one wants to diagnose anymore. The Model 2 is designed to push that breaking point much farther into the future, not by making everything indestructible, but by making failure modes simpler, slower, and more predictable. One of the quiet advantages of the manufacturing revolution Elon referred to as consistency. Traditional vehicles can vary significantly even within the same model year. Different suppliers, small assembly variations, and incremental design changes all add up. Over time, that creates uncertainty. Two owners of the same car can have wildly different repair experiences. Tesla's highly automated production process reduces that variability. When fewer parts are involved and machines perform more of the assembly, the end product becomes more uniform. That uniformity is a hidden form of reliability. It makes maintenance schedules more accurate and long-term cost projections more realistic. Then there is the question of depreciation, which is often treated like an unavoidable law of nature. In reality, depreciation accelerates when cars become expensive to maintain or risky to repair. A vehicle with known transmission issues or unpredictable electronics loses value faster because buyers are pricing in future headaches. By eliminating or simplifying the most failure-prone systems, Tesla is trying to flatten the depreciation curve. Even if the initial drop is similar to other cars, the long-term value retention could be significantly better. That especially important for people who plan to sell later to fund another purchase or supplement retirement income. Energy costs are another area where predictability matters more than raw savings. Gas prices fluctuate based on geopolitics, supply shocks, and policy changes that individual drivers can't control. Electricity prices can rise too, but they tend to do so gradually and regionally. More importantly, home charging allows drivers to lock in a portion of their transportation costs in advance, especially if they have access to solar or off-peak rates. For someone budgeting carefully, that stability has real psychological value. It turns transportation from a variable expense into something closer to a utility bill. Insurance is often cited as a concern with EVs, and a valid one. Early electric vehicles were expensive to insure because repair data was limited and parts availability was inconsistent. Tesla is addressing that by designing repairability into the vehicle from the start. Modular components, standardized sensors, and simplified body structures all reduce uncertainty for insurers. As actuarial data accumulates, premiums tend to normalize. That process does happen overnight. But Tesla is clearly betting on it as part of the long-term cost equation. Another often overlooked cost is downtime. When a car is in the shop for weeks waiting on parts, the expense is just the repair bill. It is rental cars, ride shares, missed appointments, and stress. By reducing part complexity and consolidating components, Tesla aims to shorten repair timelines. Faster repairs mean less disruption, which is a form of savings that doesn't always show up on paper, but matters deeply in daily life. The interior design choices also reflect an understanding of long-term use rather than first impressions. Materials are selected for wear resistance rather than showroom softness. Controls are designed to remain legible and functional years down the line. Software updates allow the interface to evolve without requiring hardware changes. That means the car does feel obsolete as quickly, which again ties back to depreciation and satisfaction. There's also an accessibility angle that becomes more important with age. Seat height, door openings, and step-in angles are engineered to reduce strain. Visibility is prioritized over aggressive styling. These aren't features that make headlines, but they directly affect comfort and usability over time. A car that is easier to get in and out of is one you are more likely to keep longer. Keeping a car longer is one of the most effective ways to reduce total ownership costs. Of course, none of this eliminates risk entirely. Technology evolves, regulations change. New models will always promise better range or more features, but the Model 2 is trying to be future-proof in the sense of staying cutting-edge forever. It's trying to remain economically sensible for as long as possible. That is a different goal, and it leads to different design decisions. One of the biggest misconceptions about affordable EVs is that they were stripped-down versions of more expensive cars. In reality, the Model 2 is optimized differently from the ground up. It is not missing features that were later removed to cut costs. It never had them to begin with. That distinction matters because it avoids the feeling of compromise. Owners aren't constantly reminded of what they don't have. Instead, they experience what works reliably. Battery longevity plays a central role in that experience. Tesla's focus on thermal management and conservative charging profiles is designed to slow degradation. While some EVs chase headline charging speeds that stress the battery, Tesla balances speed with health. Over 10 or 15 years, that approach can mean the difference between a battery replacement and a battery that still performs well enough for daily use. Given that battery replacement is one of the most feared EV expenses, reducing that risk has enormous value. Software-driven diagnostics also change the maintenance landscape. Instead of waiting for something to fail catastrophically, issues can be detected early. Predictive maintenance isn't glamorous, but it prevents small problems from becoming large ones. For owners who value peace of mind, that is a meaningful benefit. There is also a broader economic context to consider. As populations age, demand for vehicles that prioritize affordability and reliability over performance is likely to grow. Tesla appears to be positioning itself ahead of that curve. By designing a car that aligns with the needs of older buyers, they are tapping into a market that has historically been underserved by innovation-focused automakers. The real question is whether the Model 2 will be perfect. It won to be. The question is whether it fundamentally changes the relationship between price and ownership cost. If it does, it sets a new baseline that competitors will have to respond to. That competition could ultimately benefit all consumers, regardless of what they drive. For someone evaluating this car, the most important step is understanding their own priorities. If you value acceleration, luxury finishes, and cutting-edge features above all else, this probably is your car. But if you value predictability, longevity, and financial clarity, it starts to make a lot of sense, especially when you compare it not just other EVs, but to the gas-powered vehicles many people already own. Over a 10-year span, the numbers tell a compelling story. Lower energy costs, reduced maintenance, slower depreciation, fewer surprise repairs. Each category alone might not be revolutionary, but together they create a meaningful shift. That is the quiet power of Tesla's approach. It's not about one dramatic breakthrough. It is about stacking small advantages until the overall experience feels fundamentally different. And that brings us back to the original question. Why does this car exist? It exists because the traditional model of car ownership is breaking down for a large segment of the population. Rising costs, increased complexity, and declining trust have created an opportunity for something simpler and more honest. The Model 2 is Tesla's answer to that opportunity. If the company delivers on its promises, this car won't just be remembered as the cheapest Tesla. It will be remembered as the one that made ownership boring again in the best possible way. No constant anxiety about the next repair. No wondering how much value has disappeared overnight. Just a tool that does its job day after day without drama.